This is Ron Burgundy. He is a student living in Joy Kid. He loves to play jazz flute, read his many leather-bound books, and his room smells of rich mahogany. Ron's name has come up several times in your house meetings. He has been given both a verbal and written warning for policy violations by other proctors in your house. It's Friday and you're on duty in Joy Kid. More like Fry-yay, am I right? You start on what you hope will be your final round of your duty shift at 2 a.m., and you're shutting down the house. While on your round, you hear a student yelling, so you proceed to the door to check it out and quiet them down. As you approach, you hear the yells more clearly. "I'm Ron Burgundy! You stay classy, San Diego," from his room. You knock and enter Ron's room to find him funneling beers. You deal with the situation appropriately and take a look at the time. You complete the remainder of your round. You, being an awesome and detail-oriented proctor, write up your log while it is still fresh in your mind, noting the time of the incident with Ron. You have a house team meeting on Sunday evening and discuss with your team the appropriate response to Ron's policy violation. As Ron has received a verbal and written warning from other proctors in your house team, you all agree this violation warrants a fine of $20. Here's how to fill out the fine. First, are you administering a written warning or a fine? Circle the appropriate disciplinary action. Next, write the date that you are administering the fine to the student. Clearly print the student's name who will receive the fine. This next step requires you to know their student number. If it is available to you, write it down. If not, leave it blank for now. When you get the student's signature, one of the later steps, make sure to ask the student their student number, and you can fill it out on the form at that time. Now write down the house and room number of the student receiving the fine. Next, write down the date and time of the incident for which the student will be fined. This is why you should make sure to note the time and include it in your log so that you may refer to it later. The recommended fine refers to the monetary value of the fine the student will receive. You and your house team has decided on a fine value in your house team meeting. If you were filling out a written warning, you could leave the recommended fine section of the form blank. However, in the case of Ron Burgundy, Ron has been given both a verbal and written fine for other previous policy violations. Say that 3 times fast. The next step on the discipline staircase dictates a fine of $20 is appropriate. Now is the time to describe the incident. This section does not need to be as detailed as a log entry, but should list the important information, such as the name of the student involved and the room number the incident took place. It should also say the time the incident occurred, what the policy violation was, and how the policy was violated. This section should be about 2 to 3 sentences. Remember, the more that is documented before an appeal is submitted, the better. In the same box, you must determine, was alcohol involved? Circle the appropriate response. You're almost done. Now it's time for signatures. Print your name clearly in the section labeled Issued By. Sign your name and date it in the designated sections. The next section is for dons. Have your don print, sign, and date the section designated don. Now you can bring the form to the student receiving the fine. Explain the fine to them, why they are receiving it, and how their policy violation impacted the community. Explain to them how to pay the fine, when it needs to be paid by, and the procedure for appeal, all of which are detailed on the form they will receive. The final signature you need to get before submitting the fine is the student receiving the fine. Once they sign it, your portion of filling out the fine is complete. Thanks to you, the student now knows the important details pertaining to their fine and the repercussions of their actions on the community. This is a good time to get their student number and fill it out on the form if you have not already done so. The last step in the process is distribution. Copies 1 and 2 are to be submitted to the coordinator. Please submit these copies to the RLC's desk within 48 hours of the student's signature. Copy 3 should be submitted to your residence don. And finally, copy 4 goes to the student. Great work! You've just completed filling out a fine form. You stay classy, Frederickson.